Monport 40W CO2 laser. Got one right here, sitting on a cart. Unfortunately, you have the cart before the horse. Sure you've heard that saying. Talk about it coming up. I'm Roger, welcome to the shop, and I ordered me a Monport 40W CO2 laser. And I also ordered the chiller, the CW3000 chiller, and here's the laser. It came in. However, the chiller is back ordered for a few weeks, so I may be operating this with a little pond pump that comes with it and using a bucket. So here's my little bit of dilemma when I said I have the cart before the horse, and there again, here's the cart. I have to have a place for this to live. It can't be down here. It's way too dusty. So I think it's going to have to be in my laser storage room and my kind of auxiliary 3D printing room upstairs in the loft. So I have to make some room for it up there and do a little bit of rearranging. Then I'm going to make a top for this cart right here. I picked this cart up at an auction. It came from a auto parts store, so it's got a bunch of auto type stickers on it, but that's fine. But the top of the cart is pretty dirty, and I need to make a top for it that will fit this laser once I get it out of the box. Now I need to get the cart upstairs, get the laser upstairs, and get set up. So this one's going to take a little while. However, I will be going into detail on everything, on getting this thing prepped and unpacked, and as I do in all of my assembly videos. I don't think there's a whole lot of assembly involved here. Something else I need to do up there is create a custom vent board. I've been meaning to do this anyway because I do run lasers up there on occasion, and I want to be able to possibly engrave wood up there, not just tiles and slate, and I want to be able to vent that out the window. I have windows up there, and I'm going to make a little custom board for going in the lower part, probably put a couple vents in it, one dedicated for the CO2 laser, and the other one for whatever laser I decide to put in the enclosure up there. So I need to get this off of this cart and up here, or maybe I'll leave it on the cart. We'll take it out of the box and set it up here. I have to see how this goes once I open it. I haven't opened it yet. So let me get a little organized here. We'll get this thing unpacked. Okay, the way this is packaged is there's a box inside a box. And I'm in limited space here. It's going to be a little bit tough. So we got a big, nice piece of foam on top here. And we got some goodies laying on top. I assume these are some safety glasses. We'll get into that. Got a bag with some goodies here. We'll get into that. Then we have the laser itself, and it is surrounded by foam, which I will get out and move, and then I will get this out of here and over on the saw table so we can look at it a little closer and I can get an accurate measurement for my tabletop I'm going to have to make for this cart. Okay, that wasn't too bad. And I've got rid of the big box, and this is a lot smaller when you get rid of that great big box. It's very, very well packed. It has a very wide foam all the way around it, all four sides. 6 sides, top, bottom, 4 sides. It's this many. So now what I need to do is get a bunch of stretch wrap off of here. And you don't need to watch me pick at that. So I'll get all that off of here, and we'll open it up and go through a few other things here, see what we can find. So here's a view from the front, and the little thermometers here work even though there's no power plugged into it, so they must have an internal battery. As you can see, at roughly 16, 17 degrees centigrade, it's a little cool in here. But it's winter time. So we open this up, and the first thing I see is we have a bunch of foam in here. Need to remove. And I am assuming this is the little pump for the water. Debating whether to wait until the chiller gets here or if I'm going to just get impatient and use this with the little pump. So there's a little pump there that comes with it. It's basically a pond pump. It's got some little rubber suction cup feet. Even says so right on there, pump. Okay, we'll get to that later. And this is the vent hose for the back. It's aluminum too, and if you're venting a laser, and I don't care if it's a CO2 laser, diode laser, or any type of laser, where you're there's any kind of possibility of sparks or flame or anything, do not use a plastic hose. I see a lot of people who use a plastic dryer vent hose. Get the metal ones. That's what I'm going to use for my laser with the other enclosure up there in this room. So this will be right up the, so this will be the proper thing to use. So I know one of the things I need to do is remove this plastic film right here, which should peel off, sorta, kinda, maybe. Get a hold of the corner of it. And there's possibly, yeah, I can see there's some foam underneath there where I'm going to take these screws out too. And look underneath. Make sure you take this plastic off. If you start cutting something or engraving something and it gets into this plastic coating on this bed, you're going to have a stinky mess. Oh, that's underneath the metal in the back. Well, we got a solution for that. There we go. Now I'm going to take this cover off and see what we got underneath there. Maybe that isn't foam. Maybe that's metal. It looks like foam from this direction, but I want to look under there anyway because I know there's a spring-loaded material holder under there. Okay, I just took out the 4 screws right here, so this panel here should lift out, like so. So there's no more plastic on it anywhere. And this is a little springy, slidey thing you can put your work in if you need different depth, and it'll spring back and hold it for you. So I don't see any debris or anything that doesn't belong down there. So I'll get this put back on. Okay, the cooling hoses are pushed through the back and on the inside here, and they're kind of around this little limit switch over there. Got to be careful of that. There's a couple here where they're coupled together, and it looks like this has been tested because there's a little bit of water in that tube. So I have to carefully take this apart and slide those out the back. And I'm putting this little connector thing back in there so I don't get any dirt or any foreign matter into these tubes since it's down here in this dusty shop. So make sure that cooling system stays clean. These were actually fed through the fan port on the back. This place I want to look here is under the hood. There's a little shipping screw in there I got to take out. Make sure there's nothing where it shouldn't be, or nothing broke or fell off or fell apart or anything like that in shipping. Okay, here's one of the reasons I like to look everything over before I turn anything on. Everything is hot glued. The only problem is I notice this little temperature pickup right here for the power supply, which is in a hole right over the transformer, and I can see that's where it's supposed to be, because there's some remnants of hot glue there, but the hot glue didn't stay hot glued. So I can fix that real easy. I have a glue gun. And we'll make sure everything is plugged in down here and nothing has come loose. The motherboard is up here on the front. Everything appears to be good there, well connected. Just need to do a little hot glue work right there. And you can also see right here on the inside, this is one of the mirrors. They have all the thumb screws for adjustment, all 3 of them. Those have all been factory adjusted and then hot glued. I'll probably do an alignment check anyway after I get this all set up, but that way it should not have moved from shipping. Near the beginning that the temperature displays must have batteries in them, and they do. There's a little door on each one of them here, and it takes some kind of battery. I'm not going to open it because they're hot glued shut. They take some kind of battery, and they look like from the picture, the button batteries, but the actual number of them I don't know. Okay, what I've decided to do with the hot glue is leave on there what's already there, because that is really well adhered to the temperature sensor itself. It just did not adhere to the case. So I am going to add some glue around the outside of that, get it back in its original holes. This is a high temperature glue I have in here. If we can do this, I'll burn my fingers. Spread this around a little bit, get it down in the holes. Yeah, you get that on your finger, it's hot. Must be why they call it hot glue. Okay, I'll let that cool off, and that should hold it. Since that's on that temperature sensor, yeah, temperature went way up on that one now. Yeah, we're clear up to 30 degrees C on that now, on that hot glue. And climbing. On the main cover right here, you can see that you can't see through that. There's some paper on there that needs to be peeled off. There's 4 nuts on the back here I'll need to take loose. Take the acrylic off, peel that off, put it back on. So that'll be pretty simple. These nuts right here, 7 M&Ms if you're using a nut driver or a wrench, just so you know what size to get out of the old toolbox there. And if you're not familiar with the paper backing they put on acrylic, sometimes it comes right off and sometimes not so much. And you're going to have to fight with it. And try not to drop the little nuts. You're going to need to put them back. If you can get it started, that'll be half the battle. I may have to go get my wife. She has fingernails. Oh, there we go. So sometimes this stuff will come right off and sometimes it just shreds. My theory here is if I can get it all down on one side, I might be able to get the whole sheet to pull off together. Maybe not. Normally I wouldn't show this whole process, but I just want you to know how frustrating this can be sometimes. It's just when you think you got a good run on it, something happens. Yeah, sure. Thought I was going to get it all, didn't you? A couple little pieces of adhesive left behind, but I can get that off later. We'll pop this back on. I'll put the nuts back on it. Okay, that looks a little better. Go back over here under the hood and take a look at my little hot glue job. Yep, good and sturdy now. That ain't going anywhere. Doesn't look all that good, but it ain't going anywhere. It's cooled back down to 17C. Okay, I'll take a little look at what's going on the back side. You got your 120 volt input, because I'm in the US, 120 volt. Got 2 water pump outlets here. And I know they look weird, but it's a combo. It can either be European or US style, and what I call NEMA. So if you're thinking that a regular plug wouldn't plug in there like this, yes it will. It's not a polarized plug. Okay, I looked at this a little closer. The water pump that comes with it is really plain Jane, just like that. And yes, that'll plug right in there. However, if you have a pump with a polarized plug, where one side is fatter than the other, and just in case anybody's wondering, the neutral side is the fat side and the narrow side is the hot side. I'm an electrician, I know that stuff. That will not plug into this. You would have to, I shouldn't say this, but you would have to trim down and even so that they are both the same. You can't use a polarized plug there. Just for future reference, hopefully the chiller that I ordered is made to plug in there. It should. I mean, it's from Monport, so that should work. Okay, and over here we have where the 4-inch vent will go, and we have water inlet and outlet. And you know, there's a packing screw there. I'm gonna have to take out. Yeah, we look under the hood back here. Sure everything's where it's supposed to be. We got a little thermometer on the water hose there. There again, the mirror is hot glued. Everything looks connected and where it should be back here. A little metal washer laying in there. Otherwise everything looks good. I don't see anything loose. Oh, good to go there. USB connection for connecting it to your computer is a Type-C, and it's right here on the side. And back up here on the top, emergency stop. Nothing works. Turn that, release it, it'll pop up. It's designed that way. It's supposed to be like that. You hit it, it'll latch down, release it, you twist it. There's a little tour around the laser and checking it out and making sure everything is where it's supposed to be. And always double check your machine. I don't care if it's a laser like this or if it's a 3D printer, maybe a little CNC or something. You want to check factory assemblies. Things can happen in shipping. Things can come loose. Things can break loose. For example, that little deal with hot glue. Not a big deal. I just hot glue gun, fix that real quick. So this video is going to be actually kind of a build because it's going to take me a few days to get through everything on this. I'm going to have to measure this and make a board that will fit on top of this cart that's full of sawdust. I wonder how that happened. You'd think it was in a shop or something. But I gotta clean that up. There's also a little bit of residual oil and stuff in there. As I said, this did come at an auction from a auto parts store that had closed up. So it was one of their parts carts or whatever, and there's a little oil on it. I need to get that cleaned up. The plan is to place the chiller on the bottom shelf on this. So that's my plan. And this will set in the laser room upstairs, and this cart is on wheels, so I'll be able to move it around if I need to. So as I said, this is going to be a actual build, and it's going to take me a few days to get everything kind of organized where I want it. And once we get it all up there and I get my little plate made for venting out the window, we'll get this thing started up. The next day, and I spent some time last night, measured the cart back here. Of course, I measured the laser. It's roughly, what I wrote that down, roughly 18 by 32. I have a scrap of 3/4 inch plywood I had sitting over there in the corner, all covered with sawdust and everything. So sanded that. No, I probably didn't really need to stain it, but I had to stain out for another project, so I thought, well, I'll just hit this too. Put a little lip around it, as you can see here, to catch it on 3 sides so that it won't be rocking and sliding off the cart. So hopefully you can see that there. And I still have use of the handles, so I can use the handles to move this thing around. So I'll get this taken upstairs and then into the loft, back into the room. Then I need to measure that window opening because I need to make a board to go in there for a couple of these vents. We'll put 2 of them in there, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and I'll kind of go over on how I make that. So this is where this laser is going to live. I got a space cleared out right over here, and I'll be venting out that window right there. So that's where I need to make my adapter board for my vents, and we got a nice view outside of the top of some of our greenhouses. So it's not exactly a scenic view. But we got power here, and of course I've got lasers kind of stacked up right now with moving things around. But the laser I have over there in the corner, that Atom Stack Pro, will be put into an enclosure and it'll be vented, and I'll be able to run that hose right out over here along with the Monport. So here's what we have for the venting, and it needs some sanding and painting yet. But these 2 vents here will be facing the outside, of course, with little flappers on them. And this here will keep this upright. There's a lip on the bottom of the window up there that this will rest against. This will rest against the frame on the outside to keep it vertical. And then on the back side here, I have these elbows. I can make them 90, I can make them 45, I can make them straight. I can do whatever I want, and the crimped end will go into this. And I will pop rivet those on there after I get everything painted here. So another little time while I can sit and watch some paint dry. Maybe I'll have an adult beverage while that's happening. So we'll get this thing painted. So after spending a little time watching some paint dry, I've got the covers on here. These are what they call dryer vent replacement deals you buy if the one on your house got broke. I didn't buy the whole dryer vent with a pipe because I didn't need that part. So why is there electrical cord on here? Well, I'll show you why. The Monport laser has a fan built in, and that's what's going to be vented out this one here. My ComGrow laser enclosure upstairs in the loft does not have a fan, but it has an exhaust port, and I'll be connecting that here. So I put an inline turbine blower right here. Not super powerful, but it moves enough air that it will exhaust that just fine. I'll give you a little bit of a demonstration here. Turn this around, plug this in. So as you can see, that's enough to move enough air out of that laser enclosure. I don't need it, you know, just ripping air out of there and trying to blow things over. Just enough to get a good airflow to exhaust whatever smoke might get in there. and it actually has pretty good suction. So here we are, day 3 with the Monport 40-watt laser, and I'm in the room where I'm going to be putting this. I've got my little deal here kind of just setting in the window. I know I need to put some foam up at the top to make an air seal, but the weather outside today is not exactly frightful. It's in the 50s, which is unusual for December in Illinois. So, first thing I noticed was when I went to put the exhaust tube onto my pipe over here was that it is not going to go over that tube without it being crimped like this. So I needed to use the crimp side on that elbow to go into my fitting on the outside. So what I'm going to have to do here is crimp this side, which I can do because I happen to have a crimper. Now this should fit a little better. I know that the kit comes with clamps. There's some in this bag right here, and I even opened this bag and people are, well, the manual's in there. Yeah, it is. Well, I've got a little different take on using a manual, and that is I print my own, so I have what they call the large print edition. And I just put a comb bind on the back of it. But clamp wise, I like to use these here. You got a little thumb screw deal on them there if I need to take them on and off quick. Because I'm not going to be leaving this in the window all the time because it's not exactly insulated. In the spring and fall it may be okay, but winter and midsummer I don't think so. So this should now slip right over that, and it will. So I'll get my clamp over there and get it kind of semi-sized down. Okay, on this end here I'm going to be using one of the factory clamps. Line stretched out here because there's not enough room to turn a thumb screw on this end. Okay, good and tight there. Next I'll get this moved into position. We'll get some water hooked up. Okay, for my water reservoir right now I'm using a bucket. 5 gallon, it's brand new. Menards, you can save big money there. That's what they say. I took a lid. These lids are inexpensive. Couple of holes, inlet, outlet, little slot over here on the side for the power cord from the pump. The under pump here, and it has some little suction cup dealies that have to be put on the bottom and a little thing on the top for the water hose. That just plugs in right there. This is just nothing but a very, very basic pond pump. And since my chiller is back ordered, I'm going to have to wait till that gets here. And I didn't want to wait to play with the laser till then. Little holes in the back here. Just pop these in. And give them a little slide in the keyhole. And the little suction cup thingies will stick to the bottom. If you don't lose any of them. There we go. So what am I going to be using here for water? Need to use distilled water, and I'm going to use premium distilled water. That's even better, I guess. I don't know what the difference is. Maybe it came from a better still. But I'll be putting a few gallons of that into this bucket along with a few drops of Dawn dishwashing detergent. Dishwashing liquid, I should say. That's a good surfactant, and it will pull all the air bubbles out of the air hose, out of the water lines. And not tons of it, just a little bit. So I'll kind of get all this over there and set up. Then I can set this bucket on the bottom of the cart, and I can get that cart back into position along with the power cord, because there's not room for me and the laser and the camera all back there at once. Okay, so I'm set up here. I've got I put 2 gallons of water in there because like I said, I do have a chiller coming, so I don't need to put a whole ton of water in there. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot with this till I actually get the chiller, because I've got some other things I want to do with this. I'm going to be adding air assist to it. I'm going to be changing the bed and a few other things like that. So the first thing we need to do here, and I'm going right by the manual here, I've got it, is to do the emergency stops check. So turn this on. It doesn't do anything because right now the emergency stop is tripped. Release that. And I hear the fan coming on. My little light came on inside. And I need to look in underneath and make sure the water is circulating. And it is, with no air bubbles. Okay, one of the next little tests here is to make sure that the laser fires. So I've got it over a piece of ceramic tile on the back side of it. So just hit the little test thing here. We'll make sure that fires. Well, I need to turn the power up, I guess, a little bit. Yep, it fires. Okay, while we're looking at the inside of the laser here, a couple things that I'm going to do to make some changes. Of course, I'm going to add air assist to this because I'm going to be primarily using this for cutting. And I am going to remove the factory bed after I do a little testing here, make sure everything works good, and put a small scissor jack in there as others have done, and try to find a honeycomb board that will fit on top of that. Pretty much exact. I'll have to do a little looking around, otherwise I'll have to fabricate one out of a bigger one. And of course I'll check my mirror alignment here later on once I get a little bit more of this going, but I guess next I need to get this set up in Lightburn on a computer. So does it really take 3 days to set one of these lasers up? No. I had a lot of different things going on. I had other projects to work on. We have a lot of orders I have to get taken care of here. Christmas season is coming. This is, as I'm finishing this particular video, it's 2nd of December. So Santa's time is getting close. A lot of people are ordering things. I have a lot of things I need to get made. Of course, I had to wait for paint to dry. I had to wait for some stain to dry. So no, it doesn't take 3 days to get one of these set up. I'm going to end this one here. My next video will be on getting this all set up in Lightburn and how to go about doing that. I'm very familiar with operation of Lightburn, so this shouldn't be too tough. Then we'll get on to some initial testing, and coming up in the future here will be the modifications I make with the air assist. With the little elevator table I intend to put inside, I may change the lighting around inside a little bit so that I've got a little bit better view of what's going on in there when I'm looking through the window. As I look in here right now, yes, there is a light back there, but it doesn't really illuminate things a whole lot. So I'm an electrician, I can do that. So I'm going to end that again. I'm going to end that one here. There's going to be a whole lot of these coming up in the future as I get into the CO2 laser thing here, as they say. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. Be a link in the description on the Monport 40-watt Lightburn compatible laser. Thanks for watching. Roger in the laser room in the loft. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.